Okay, microphone check, one, check, two. Is everything in check? Are we ready to go? I think so. Okay, what's the issue right now? There is a friend of mine sent me a link, and in the link, it's about a matter that is, I think, presently still in court. They are still at final address stage. So, what was the whole story? Let me just break it down in a nutshell. I'll leave the link in the description just in case you want to read through the article yourself. What happened, long and short of the story, there's a man, the claimant, there's a woman, the defendant. They entered into an agreement, pay 15 million naira into my account for sex. In fact, it's getting weird already. 15 million naira for sex. I don't know, maybe that's the going rate in their community, or they just decided to up the game, whatever. 15 million naira, you pay into my account and I will have sex with you, being consideration for the 15 million naira. So what did they do? They set out to write an agreement to, you have to dot your I's and cross your T's. They wrote an agreement, 15 million naira, I shall be sleeping with you, and, that will be the final business transaction. So on the fateful day, the woman got up, the guy too, obviously up. They got to the room. The woman put on the camera and said, look, before we execute this agreement, what we need to do is have you record me read out the whole thing to you, blah, blah, blah. And then, we execute the agreement, and then we do what? We perform, and then part performance. So do we call it part performance or full performance? So after full performance, or after performance of the contract, you will get transferred the full amount of your money. So the whole thing went as planned. Everybody, kumbaya, they went on their own way. Shortly thereafter, the man decided to sue for his 15 million naira. That, look, it was not that good or whatever, I don't know. But that 15 million naira, that the money was actually it was a loan given to the woman in furtherance of a business transaction, blah, 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 that they are joint partners in the business. He came up with the whole and shebang, put that on his pleadings. He's now the claimant, he's in court. And they've actually gone to give evidence. They've given evidence. They've gone to trial. Given evidence, he pleaded how the woman, how they were in a business transaction and the woman did not pay back the 15 million naira. In opening her defense, the woman also said that it was the only thing she said in defense of her case was that it was sex, that the money was paid as a loan initially, but however, that they had sex, and that was how she paid back her 15 million naira. And in furtherance of that, she did what? To buttress her evidence, she played a videotape, showing how the whole thing went down, how she recorded it. It was not in objection, how maybe it was fake or not. The man actually said that he had sex. In the evidence given, he said he had sex. He did not deny all those things. He did not deny the videotape, but that, however, that was just an addendum to the main contract XYZ. That's the whole case in court. That's the whole. I'll leave a link in the description so you can always check it out and read for yourself if I gave a full, if I gave a valid narration of it or what have you. So that's it. That's the story. And then let's move to part 2. Let us look at the legal ramifications of all the things that, is it legally binding? Is it blah, blah, blah? Let me break it down into like maybe 3 parts. First part, we will be looking at, first, everybody knows that it is criminal to solicit for sex so the first thing I'm going to mention is the criminal aspect of it. When you solicit for sex and you are actually involved in the sex practice or however it is, the legal criminality under section 7B or so, parties to an offense, that's in our criminal code in Nigeria here. Criminal code tells you all the people involved in that crime They are also, we are obviously, we know one thing for sure right now by the evidence they gave in court, by their pleadings, by the statements from each of them. We know that these people did what? Prostitution was the major crime. And what happens for prostitution? They are all going to go to jail. Yeah, you that solicited, you that prostituted yourself, even the lawyer that puts himself, I'm not sure if a lawyer wrote the agreement, but if whoever wrote that agreement, you know, is also liable under our criminal code. They are all criminal participants to the offense. Everybody is going to get punished. In fact, by the time they finish giving evidence, if there was a prosecutor in court, it is there that he will be drafting their charges and be calling them for questioning, and they'll go for bail. And so criminal offense, they will have to start another trial. So you get, the states will have to sue them. The states will have to prosecute this time around for the criminal offense. That is one thing for sure. Before anything, there's going to be a criminal. That's the normal way the what you call it, the law is supposed to take its course. They should be coming from jail to come and finish their trial, you know, or probably they will be running a criminal trial for soliciting for sex and everything. It is prostitution, no doubt about it. It is not allowed in our country. So that the matter is even getting to courts where you are now playing a videotape in front of a judge XYZ, it's already outrageous in my own belief. The lawyers should have known better and not let it get to that stage. Call for a settlement and, you know, maybe pay the guy a refund, or, you know, or whatever is. That's another story, which I'll get to shortly. So one thing we know for sure is criminal. You don't do that. The next thing, let's look at the civil perspective of this whole issue right now. Looking at the civil perspective, it is not every, as in, they are looking at contract itself, it is not every contract that is enforceable in this country. It is not every contract. Say, for example, you cannot say, I'm going to give you 200 million or whatever, as in whatever amount, to go and kill Mr. XYZ. That is a valid contract. There is offer and there is most likely acceptance, and there's going to be performance of what everything I have just said. But is that a legal contract to go and kill somebody? So if to go and kill somebody cannot be a legal contract, the same thing applies to go and commit prostitution. So, breakdown of the law, it is not allowed for you to enter into an illegal contract. I cannot enter into an illegal contract for you to help me move 10 kilograms of cocaine to point A to point B. Those contracts are illegal. The law will not enforce illegality. That's one thing. So you cannot enter into prostitution as a contract and come and claim under the contract. That is general rule. But even that is actually the rule. There's nothing you can do about it. Then another thing, the way they were describing it in the article I read, as in that article, that it was a gift, we were in a relationship, blah, blah, blah. The woman is trying to sway it as a gift and what have you. You get what I'm saying? The gifts, you don't have any particulars to show. If I give you my phone or if I give you something, you must give me consideration for you to have chance to keep it. So the technicalities of gifting somebody something in a relationship has to be looked at. They did not plead it well, so I cannot really talk specifically about does it qualify as a gift. But once you give, if the man was actually, say, he actually gifted it during the relationship, that gift is gone if it is actually described as a gift. If he actually pleaded and showed circumstances, if the lady actually in her defense pleaded and showed circumstances why it is a gift and how it should remain a gift, that is another story. So that one being said, she might qualify better as a gift, not that she earned it, as in saying I had sex with him, you know, we did and then now I'm entitled. No, it's not an entitled, it's not something earned. So But it might be, depending on how they describe it in the pleadings. I'm not looking at the pleadings. I'm just going by what was recorded, as in what was reported in court. So that one takes care of it. And then another thing that you will want to look at. I lost my train of thought. Let me pause and be right back. Okay, and then another thing I wanted to talk about is that the trade and custom of a trade. Let's just assume that everything is okay. We allow prostitution. It is not a crime, and it is an enforceable contract. So, in that circumstance, what do we know about the trade and custom of people doing prostitution? How do we, can the man be entitled to a refund if we follow the regular trade and custom of it? Has he been overcharged? Is that the going rate happening, like I mentioned earlier? Is that the going rate? Is it what prostitutes usually collect? Does he have a right to say, my lord, I was overcharged for the kpekus, which the service she rendered was not up to par. What I was expecting is not what I got. You get what I'm saying? He has a valid, I'm assuming that everything is all right and everything is going smooth. He has a right to come out and say, the service I got was not okay. I expected this, I expected that. No doggy, no fellatio, no this, no that. He has a right to come in and say, services was not what that's another story for another day. And that another thing that you should know is, at what point does he have a right to rescind the contract? Is he, because now we have set terms and conditions. Okay, we are going to do it, we are not going to do it, And then now, the lady, they are ready to do it, and it gets to, perceive a foul odor or like the look of whatever, anything, I don't know. I'm not in the trade, but, just trying to fathom what could be, So at what point does he have a right to say, no, I'm not no more interested, it was not good enough? Is he after the first trust, or is he after the second trust, or is he after he finishes, or the general overall condition? All these things, it depends on the pleading of how, not like this will ever get to court or something, but all those things are conditions that he can say, look, even though we did, I actually accepted prostitution, I actually accepted sex, blah, 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 but, but I did not enjoy it, but she was not cooperative, but all those buts, terms and conditions are set out in the, it's not yet there. So I don't know how I'm going to go and face all that one. Sure, you get what I'm saying? So the terms and condition is not there. So there are when you're writing a contract, make sure the terms is well specified, is well laid out, So all that being said, the lady is not entitled to a refund in Nigeria. Then another thing is, in what planet will she be entitled to a refund? In what circumstances will she be entitled to a refund? Let's say, because the video that was shown in court, they were in a room. I don't know if it was set, if the contract was set in Nigeria or if the contract was set somewhere in Amsterdam. She gets, because in Netherlands, that's an example, the alternative world where she can probably have to keep the whole money. So, for example, in Amsterdam, you are in Amsterdam and you decided to be in Amsterdam. It is normal. Commercial sex workers are allowed. Prostitution is allowed. You can sell weed. Their custom, your trade and custom allows for all these things. So, in Amsterdam, you are allowed to have sex for money. It is a noble trade, according to how they describe it. So what you must be what? You must be registered. You must have a license before you can come out and say you are a commercial sex worker. It's not all prostitutes. It's not everybody. It's not all females or males, as the case may be, depending on your preference. It's not everybody that can be a prostitute. You must go through the rudiments of registering your trade, telling them that say this body right here, this kpekus right here must be charged, and as in you are charging for it, you want to sustain your living through that. And then what is required in that kind of society? You must get a license. Say for example, in Nigeria right now, you cannot be a doctor without having a license. You cannot say you are a medical practitioner without a license, because that trade is regulated. There is registration involved. It is not everybody that qualifies to be it. So you must get a license before you can, get into that trade. Even in an alternative society like Netherlands, you must get a license. Does she have a commercial sex worker license? If she does not, then she is not entitled to collect 15 million naira. Do you know how much that is? That's a lot of money. 15 million naira for, I don't know if it was for one round or for, I don't know, for a period of time, but that's just the whole thing. So, final verdict right now. Final verdict is, let's say the court gives her that money and says, well, you had sex, you've earned your money, congratulations, have a good life, enjoy your 15 million naira. What has happened just now? The court has automatically legalized prostitution. That means every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every prostitute out there can point to that. All they need is just print a piece of paper and point to that law and say, look, the law in the courts, my lord in so said I can charge. Once we have it in writing, once we have a video, once we have this, prostitution is legal. Nobody can arrest anybody again, even though criminally it is in our criminal code saying you cannot charge for sex. So prostitution becomes legal the minute the judge says, well, you might as well, as in you paid for the sex and that should be it. Prostitution becomes legal. That's it. So there is no way, I'm doubting it. That will be, it will probably be judicial, I don't want to say the word, but it will be, the judge is going ultra vires by the time she's now making laws from the bench, because we already have the laws. The laws are already stated in clear black and white. Prostitution, what they have described is prostitution. You are not allowed to charge for, to charge for sex. You are not allowed for it. So that's just my 2 cents on it. On the other leg, if the guy wins, I don't know what the society stands to gain by not letting the guy win, but just know that the court will be sending bad precedents if we are. So imagine all this case goes, imagine she wins in the lower court and it goes all the way to Supreme Court and the Supreme Court says, well, we're good, we should start paying for sex. It becomes law. So let's just be careful, Ordinarily, all of them should be, it's not your dirty linens that you wash in public. So this video is already getting too long. Cheers.